Hey there, administrators. Uh, just sending out a quick little video today. I know I've been sending out a lot lately, and I'll try to keep this one short. Um, got some things I got to cover, though, unfortunately. It's going to take a little bit of time. Also, good news, though. I'll be gone next week on vacation, so there will be no videos. So you don't have to worry about watching one next week. I promise I won't make you go through one. A couple things I want to talk about. We're now done with the second quarter of the year, so we're halfway through the year now. November 1st marks 6 months. So one big important thing is if you do not have your board filled out at this time, halfway through the year now, the governor can appoint somebody to those vacant positions. You do not have to have a special election. So let's get those boards filled up and let's make sure those people are trained. Actually, right now, we're doing pretty good across the board. There are very few positions not filled of the elected offices, so that's a good thing. Also, I'm sending along in this email the all stats for each lodge. I've done that before. I normally like to get that out at the end of the quarter, which technically would have been October 31st. With all this LCL web stuff going on, QuickBooks, personal life, everything, I forgot to do that report on that day. I'm sending one out now. It's going to be from November 2nd, though. The difference in that is it is a live report. I can't go back to October 31st. Those would have had the best numbers on them because, was the first of the month, kind of like the weekly stats. Those numbers change throughout the month. So the first of the month, because you've had a bunch of people expire, the first of the month does not look as good on membership as the end of the month. So just remember that when I'm sending this out. Although I will say, for November 2nd, there were still lots of lodges in the pluses. I didn't see the last day of the month. I do know that the last month we were up 18 members come Thursday or Friday, so we did really well. We were in plus numbers again for the third month in a row. We beat the North again, so go South. I appreciate that. Right now, we are actually already up in the territory for November, up 33 members, so we're not going to end in the negative. So we're already in the positive, so it's only going to get better. The reason why that is, October is one of those hard months to get past because it's what they call a legacy month, and it used to be in the past, the halfway through the years when people had to pay their dues, so there were a lot of people that were expiring back then. We're kind of starting to get out of that, so we're seeing that, and that's why, of course, November we end up in a positive number, so that's a really good thing. In those all stats, so the things you want to look at first is your membership. We have a lot of lodges that are in plus numbers right now. Some are even like 20 and 30 over last year, and that's fantastic. We have a couple. North Vernon's doing great. There are more than 50 members up this year compared to last year. So what we need to look at when we're looking at those numbers, if we're down a lot, 20, 30 members, we need to see what's going on because we have to remember that in our lodges, if we don't have something for them to come in, they're not going to come in and they're going to end up losing their memberships. They're going to let it expire and not come back. We have to have activities going on in the lodge. And I say almost every day. People always ask me, what are the good lodges or the lodges that are doing well, what are they doing? And that's the number one thing they're doing is they're having activities every day. And that's not just having the bar open. I know there are lodges that are having trouble right now because of the COVID situation between employees. Maybe they can't have things going on. So that I understand. But there were lots of lodges that weren't doing something on a regular basis before. So we need to make sure we're having those activities. Also, what you want to look at is your retention rate on there. Retention rate, we want to try to keep them at 80%. A lot of lodges hover around the mid-70s to low 70s. That's okay, but it's not great. If you're lower than that, there's a problem. If you're at 50 or 60%, that means you're losing half of your membership every year that's not coming back in to renew. And that's a problem. And that's probably because of, something that's went on in the lodge, not having activities. But the biggest thing is when I talk to people, and I have to do those retention reports myself, I pick a lodge each month, it is simply that they have forgotten to pay. They didn't want to let their membership necessarily drop. They'd forgotten about it, and or they've moved, and therefore they didn't get their renewal letter, and that's the reason why they forgot. we need to contact those expired members. Administrators, I'm not expecting you to do all the work, but we need to get the board together and have them calling people. Give them those expired lists once a month. And before a meeting, make each officer call just one person. Use their cell phone. They may not talk to somebody. If they talk to somebody, they'll say, hey, we were just checking in on you. Wanted to remind you politely that, your dues are expired. We'd love for you to come back in the lodge and pay those. Remind them that a portion of those dues go to Moose Heart and Moose Haven, so it's not just going to the club, because as we know, that $38 does not go to the lodge. Remind them of those things. Even if they don't talk to somebody, leave a message on their phone. We'll just politely remind them. That's going to help a lot. If you have, 9 officers every meeting, or at least once a month, contact those people, that's a lot. That adds up to a lot of people we're going to reach out and talk to. The other thing, I have to look back at my notes back here, see what we're looking at here. So you want to check those retention numbers. Got to roll down here a little bit. Also, the other problem that a lot of lodges aren't doing, remember, we have to have those orientations and enrollments. I prefer the orientation just because how it kind of, it's in the title. New members, it just kind of explains to them what's going on in the lodge. It doesn't have to be complicated. It'll be a few minutes. What I suggest is when you do it, you do it and you advertise it to be the, whatever time, a half an hour before the first meeting of the first meeting of the month. And again, if you are having those, we have to remember to go into Moose Admin and report those. You can backdate that. You can even go ahead and date them in the future. There's a couple lodges that they already know that's going to be the first of the month, so they've already have them on there and reported to the end of this year. Then it's my job, once you guys report those, to make sure that they're happening and being offered, whether that be seeing a flyer in the lodge or looking in the newsletter. But we need to make sure we're all offering those. That's very important. Another thing we have to look at is lodges are getting pretty bad about sending their endowment in on a regular basis. Remember, that has to be done every month. And in order to be considered for Premier Lodge Award, you have to send 10 out of the 12 months. I always remind people, when you're sending your AR payment in, that's when you should send your Moose Charities endowment in also. And there's been a couple of mistakes with that. We need to make sure those are going in separately from separate envelopes. If you're mailing them in, one is Attention Moose Charities. That's for your endowment. Same address, but it says Moose Charity on it, because when it gets to the campus, it goes to a different place. We don't want it getting lost. Your AR payment, if you're paying it by check and sending it in, it goes to Moose International, care of Finance Department. We want to make sure that's on there also. But we have a lot of lodges not sending that in monthly, and or they're waiting once a quarter, and let's just say it's 50. They raise about $50 a month. They're sending 150 in. Well, we appreciate the 150, but they want those that money sent in every month. Now, if your lodge is having at least 2 officer meetings a month, and they're collecting dues, or endowment, that's $18 maybe. That's fine. Send a check in for $18 then. Of course, we want you doing the 9 o'clock prayer on busy nights and things like that. So we need to make sure that's being sent in monthly. A lot of lodges are forgetting that, and it's going to leave them out of a Premier Lodge Award because they didn't send it in on time. Again, send that monthly with the AR payment. Speaking of AR payments, we have some lodges that are behind right now, and we need to make sure those are getting paid monthly also. Now, here's the biggest argument. We don't have the money to pay right now, and that I understand. But what we need to do, and I've said this to all those lodges that are way behind on payments, at least send something in, $25, $50, $100. That way Moose International knows you're not just ignoring them and that you still exist. For all they know, once we hit 3 months, 90 days, they don't know if the lodge is still open or what. That's why I get a phone call and have to go check it out. After 90 days, Moose International can give you a social quarter suspension. That means they can close the social quarters down until a payment's made. So I understand if you have a larger bill and you cannot afford to pay it, and that seems overwhelming, send $25 in. That way they know you're not ignoring them. You're still going to get the email from Don Ross saying, hey, thanks for the $25. That's not enough. We need to up it. You're still going to get that email, but at least they know that you're paying on something, and that $25 can keep you from having your social quarter shut down. So thank you very much for doing that also. Let's see. What else did I need to mention? I think that's all for now. Again, I will say real quick. Oh, Heart of the Community. Heart of the Community is due November 15th. Don't wait till the last minute. As of today, about a third of the lodges haven't entered anything in. You should be doing that weekly or monthly. You can enter that as much as you want and save. You don't lose it that way. You don't forget about it. I have lodges that wait till the last day, forget about it. Then I have to call them to remind them, like, oh yeah, I got to put that in there, because you cannot put that in after November 15th. So please work on that. The last thing I want to talk about again, remember with LCL and QuickBooks, with the transition we're going through, you don't have to transmit your monthly reports to Moose International, because LCL doesn't do that anymore. You do have to send a balance sheet and a P&L report to me. I already covered that in the video that went out Monday morning. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me. Had a couple lodges already call me on that, but I've actually had quite a few already turn their reports in as of today on the 2nd. So of those lodges, I do appreciate that very much. I kept this to 11 minutes. If you guys need anything next week, I'll send out an email that I will be gone. If it's a minor question, feel free to get a hold of Rusty Shields, the Assistant Territory Manager for Southern Indiana. Or if it's something more important, get a hold of Mark Benton, the Territory Manager from the North. If it's a simple question and you want to email me, you can always email me. I will check emails. I'll try to get back to those about every other day. Other than that, you guys have a great day. The South's doing fantastic, and we'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye. Thanks.